I've had a lot of patients come in with a old glasses prescription they got from maybe an ophthalmologist, and they come in, I do their exam, and I tell them it's the exact same prescription as what they found, and then they look at it and they say, no, these are two completely different prescriptions. They may have came in with a +1 at 180 from the ophthalmologist, and I do an exam on them, and I find a +2 -1 at 90. And I look straight at that patient and I say, this is the exact same prescription, nothing changed. But that looks vastly different to them. So I want to walk you through how to look at your glasses prescription to see what we're actually talking about and what is actually there. In order to do that, we have to introduce a thing called the power cross. So if I go in and I draw a plus sign, there is your power cross. Okay, and I'm going to back us up. I'm going to simplify this a little bit so I can get more advanced in a second. So if I say, instead of having an astigmatism lens, instead of having astigmatism, a toric lens, you have just a spherical lens, just a +2 lens, okay? So here is the lens. We have 90 degrees here, we have 180 degrees here, and we know because this is a spherical lens, every point on this lens is a +2. So we're +2 at 90 degrees, we're +2 at 180, we're +2 at 45, we're +2 at 135, we're +2 everywhere on that lens. So we start off with that spherical lens. Then I go in and I say, okay, let's take that lens and let's look at it from a glasses prescription standpoint. Because optometrists typically almost always write their prescription minus because it's easy to take away material from the backside of the lens. It's really hard to add material to a lens. So if we take this lens that's a perfect sphere, perfectly round, and we say, you know what? I want to go over here to 90 degrees, where 90 degrees is, and I want to take a diopter away. So I say +2 -1, that equals a +1. So I go, I now have +2 at 180 degrees, I have +1 at 90 degrees, and I have this exact prescription drawn out here in minus cylinder, okay? Looks absolutely perfect. So that's how the power cross works from an optometrist standpoint, from what we're thinking about it, making glasses, taking away that lens material. But let's talk about it from an ophthalmologist standpoint, okay? So let's make a small little adjustment here. Let's say that we have a lens and we're +1 spherical. So now it's a +1 spherical lens. We have +1 everywhere that we look on this lens, right? Okay, we're in agreement. Now I'm going to do surgery, and I'm going to do surgery on that cornea, and I'm going to make an incision. I'm going to make an incision right here at 180 degrees, okay? When I make that incision, I'm going to create scar tissue, and that scar tissue is going to elevate that lens from a +1 by 1 diopter. So 1 + 1 equals 2. So I'm a +2 + 1, just like it. So that's the exact same thing. So I don't know if you remember, but it's the exact same lens, right? We start out with a +2 sphere over on the minus cylinder. We took a diopter away at 90 degrees, matches. For the ophthalmologist, we had a +1 lens. We added a diopter of scar tissue, and lo and behold, we have that exact same power. So that is how the power cross works. Now, we can interchange things anywhere. And so if I go and I say, you know what, let's change up this lens again. Let's make it 45 degrees here and 135 degrees here. It's pretty simple to think through that. So we're just going to adjust these spots again. And so what's going to happen is we're going to say +2 lens everywhere. At 135 degrees, we're going to subtract a little bit. That means this one's 45. So in order to go from a plus cylinder to minus cylinder, all you have to do is add these two numbers together and then move this by 90 degrees. That is literally the difference between talking in plus cylinder and minus cylinder. And that is how you can look at your glasses prescription and see what the true power is everywhere. Because somebody that comes in that is, say, maybe a +3, -3 at, we're going to make this easy for us, at 135, we can now walk through this prescription to see what we've got going on. So we say it's a +3 everywhere. Then we're going to subtract 3 diopters at 135. So they have no power there. So that's why this patient with this prescription might see really well with no glasses on, but yet have really Coke bottle thick and a high prescription when we write it out, right? Because that looks insane, but they're not seeing too bad. If you have other questions, leave a comment and I'll tackle it in another video.